Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 17th, 2018. The time is 6:30 p.m. and the regular meeting of the Greensburg Redevelopment Commission is called to order. At this time, if everybody would please silence your electronic devices. And if we'd all stand, we'll begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. Judy, would you conduct a roll call, please?
David Weigel,
Present.
Adam Wenzel,
Present.
Ken Dornick, absent. Darren Covington,
Present.
Jody Kaufman, present. Shannon McClure, present.
Thank you. Approved minutes of the April 19th, 2018 regular meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review them. If there are not any corrections to the minutes, they stand approved as presented. There are no items listed under old business, new business. Item number 1, update of project status for Veterans Way Phase 2. Mr. May, if you would, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are continuing to move forward with Veterans Way Phase 2, perhaps not quite as rapidly as we'd like, but we are heading the right direction. Land acquisition, right-of-way clear certification has been moved out to August the 24th of 2018. And that will produce a bid letting of January the 16th of 2019, which would keep us on schedule for notice to proceed to the contractor around the 1st of March, which would give him the month of March to do any tree clearing that's necessary. If, because of the right-of-way acquisition process, our schedule slips any, we will have to look about possibly cutting some trees. They have to be down by the 1st of April. But they can just simply be cut and that will satisfy the requirements. So our final tracing submittal date is now October the 8th of 18. Our consultant has submitted what's known in the industry as stage 3 design plans. That was done on May the 9th. And for a reference, stage 3 are 90% complete plans, so they're basically complete. They have also submitted a notice of intent to IDEM for the Rule 5, the erosion control plans. And they have submitted the signal plans and the retaining wall plans. So, and they have provided us, there's some private water mains that need to be adjusted for the work, and we've received those plans, and as I read this, I suspect I owe them an answer about that. Everything seems to be in order there. The note says the letting date of 11/15 appears to be in jeopardy. In fact, we've moved back from that date, so we're looking at a January 19 letting date. There is a question about the leasing office that we're acquiring. The tenant would like to, or the current owner and soon-to-be tenant would like to stay there a little longer. We have to work out with NDOT that it's okay if they stay there even when construction potentially starts. The construction sequence will be such that that should not be an issue. It becomes more of a bureaucratic matter with NDOT. With regards to right-of-way, we have secured and paid for one parcel. Apparently, and Chris, I don't know if you know anything about this, but apparently we have also secured parcel number 1. Have you heard from our buyer about that?
I think that they sent paperwork out.
We don't have the signed paperwork back, but I think we have a verbal agreement on that.
Anticipate receiving paperwork signed.
Yeah, so, and then the parcel number 3, the owner, we had a conference call a couple weeks back, And they have indicated that they are going through refinancing, expect to have that completed, I think literally any day now. They have always given us verbal approval of the offer, but they were the HUD finance people and they were dealing with HUD. With their refinancing, HUD will drop out of the picture completely. And the plan is that when they refinance, they will not include the acreage that we would acquire in their new mortgage, so there would be no need for a partial release of mortgage. So that will clean all of that up. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have the paperwork back from them. And maybe next month we'll be asking you to pay for a couple more pieces. That will leave us 4 remaining parcels. And that process continues at whatever pace it continues at. And we will continue to work with that. And again, if we can have everything cleaned up by the 3rd week in August, we'll be on schedule for a January letting. I also had a conversation with one of the parcels involved with a firm that represented themselves to be potential purchasers of the property, and they seemed they offered the appearance that they like our project, so maybe they'll, if they buy the other piece, maybe they'll be a little easier to get along with them. That, I have no idea how that ends up, but it was encouraging at least. Questions about phase 2 of Veterans Way? Those things that we are in control of seem to be going well, and the right-of-way acquisition process is the right-of-way acquisition process.
If there's no questions, how about moving on to Lincoln Street update?
I am excited to share with you that Lincoln Street was closed today. It seemed to go okay. In fact, I had asked Sarah in the middle of the day how many phone calls we'd had, and at that point we had had none. So that was good. There was a little confusion when we first closed this morning. It seemed to straighten out. I don't know how the afternoon rush went. In a couple of days, people will learn how to accommodate what the changes in traffic patterns that we've made. We will continue to do those things that we can to accommodate everybody. I believe we're posting no truck signs on East Street and Franklin Street, trying to discourage the trucks from going down through there. We spent much of the morning working with Duke, trying to get them squared away on what they're going to do, and they tell us that they should have a crew in here in the next couple of weeks to start making the adjustments that they need. Hopefully that comes to fruition like that. That will not interfere with the progress of our contractor if we can accomplish that. We have some conflict with Frontier Communications. They've got some buried stuff that will be in the way, and our contractor assures us that for a reasonable period of time he can work around that situation. So we believe like we're going forward. We have a couple of property owners that are we're still working with, trying to resolve their concerns. And one of those involves the parking on the west side of Lincoln Street. And the plan at the moment is that there will be full height curb in that area, and there will actually be a street light right in the middle of that area, unless we redesign the section in there. So, and the final thing on Lincoln Street, the Committee of One met last week, Friday, and we walked, the committee and I walked the block from the hospital to Walnut Street. And the committee identified 362 lineal feet of sidewalk that would like to be replaced, or the committee would like to have replaced. I have prepared an estimate for that additional work, and my estimate comes to, in really round numbers, $18,000. because of how the CCMG money was organized this year, there would be no state participation on that amount. It would all be funded by the city. What that would do is replace virtually all of the sidewalk in that block on both sides that wasn't replaced, what was that, 4 years ago maybe, that one block was worked on. I very carefully questioned the committee of one that while it will be brand new sidewalk, and it will all be uniform in almost every appearance, it will still be a different color because concrete ages and the color changes. And so please understand that if we do that,
The committee understood that.
so if we do this additional
Receptive
sidewalk, we
committee.
will end up replacing one curb ramp on the corner, in the northwest corner of Walnut and Lincoln, and we would cut one tree that's right there on that corner because it's going to be in the way. If we don't replace the sidewalk, we probably wouldn't replace that curb ramp and just work to modify it as drainage inlet right there, which was the original plan. So if you all will provide guidance, we will go accordingly.
So right now, is that ADA compliant without having the curb?
Curb ramp?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably, yes.
Sidewalk, everything else ADA compliant. If we're looking to make trails connect all the way through, I think it's very important that we stay ADA compliant there.
If we do work in there, we will have to make it compliant. I think it already is. We're
Okay.
technically not working in that block other than streetlights. But if we do this, then we have to absolutely make sure, and that's why I'd like to replace that one. It'll
What's
just,
your recommendation is to replace it?
if we're gonna do the sidewalk on north, yes, then that curb ramp should be
The
replaced.
committee used maximum frugality while choosing sidewalk pieces. And then just,
That
the
was.
committee did not just draw the whole area out, so.
I envision what happened back when was we looked at the sidewalk and some of it was really, really bad. And so what was left behind didn't look as bad because the reference to the really bad
Bad
stuff
stuff,
made
it
it look
was-
better.
Yeah.
But now when we got new sidewalks in other
Yeah,
places,
that's
now what
fine.
got left behind doesn't look as good as it did before, so.
So are we replacing the sidewalk, when we redo Lincoln Street on both sides?
Yes, as long as the property owners cooperate. From Walnut Street to Main Street.
Right,
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
yes. It
So
will
will
be,
this be the only section that's not redone?
it was redone
It would be
It
if we
was
decided not.
4 to 5 years ago.
The curbs and gutters.
And at that time, the decision was made in the interest of frugality, I'm told, to salvage what sidewalk was believed to be salvageable.
No.
So there's some older, it's not impossible to walk on decrepit, but it's not brand new either. So we would go in and pick those pieces out and replace them.
I guess what I'm asking, everything north of First Street.
Is
those
new, was new
sidewalks
10 years
Were
ago.
replaced,
Yes,
and then everything south of Walnut Street was
Yes.
replaced. And so now we're just talking about the section between First and Walnut.
yeah, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 sections, or 5 sections. There were 5 pieces that were replaced the last time we worked on it. Now they look
You said 192 feet? I'm sorry, I missed that.
362 lineal feet total.
My thought is, you're gonna do the job, you ought to finish it, and just do it right.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
We've got a decent price on sidewalk because of the large volume to the south, so we can extend that price to the north.
I think we have sufficient funds to include that.
That is the committee's recommendation.
So the 18,000 include the ramp, the curb ramp, and
It's everything now
tree?
already in the contract.
Okay.
It is an estimate because I don't have prices on a couple of items from the contractor that are additional work, but I think 20,000 will be a lot of money here. I negotiate hardly on it.
Would the committee care to make a motion that we do this?
The committee makes a motion that we fund the replacement of the sidewalks between Walnut and First Street.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Adam seconded. Thank you.
And if I could clarify, the committee is wanting to replace the sidewalk not previously replaced, not all of it.
Yes, not previously replaced.
Any further discussion on that topic? Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Anything else on Lincoln Street?
Otherwise, Lincoln Street seems to be going forward. I'm quite optimistic. I'm feeling good that it's gonna go okay. So,
Ron, I'm having a pre-senior moment. Who is our contractor on Lincoln Street?
technically, our contractor is Globe Asphalt Paving Company, technically out of Indianapolis, although it's Mark Coors, and Mark is out of Westport.
Yeah,
They have a
okay.
plant down there.
Yeah.
This sounds kind of oxymoronic, but their prime sub, who is more of the prime than the prime is
Yeah.
Shooty Excavating. And a lot of the work will be done through Shooty Excavating. It's good, they're both local. And we've worked with them. We worked with them on the Montgomery-Baruchel intersection project, and they did us a nice job of that.
Good, good.
So
I just
I'm
remember.
feeling good.
Good deal.
They changed my mind, but right now I'm feeling good.
Good.
When will the remainder of the streets be shut down? Cross streets?
The first one that will probably be shut down will be Washington in the next couple of weeks, maybe. We have told the schools that we will keep North and Central open until the 24th, which is the last day of school. And the plan is to keep either North or Central open at all times. Contractors indicated he'd like to generally build out from Main Street to somewhere mid-block between North and Central, and then move up and work on the northern end after that's done. Now, when I say generally build out, there will not be any paving work done until right at the end, because we'll bring the paving operations in and do the whole thing at once, so it's all uniform and tied together. We have encountered some underground utilities that are in the way at North Street that may prevent, we originally intended, as I said, to keep North and Central one or the other open. We may have to leave North closed. We may have to phase the construction slightly different there because of the utilities. They're trying to relocate out of the way, but it may take a little bit for them to get their stuff done, and so we may have to skip an area there and leave it open. The idea is, though, to try and get not Lincoln Street itself, but the cross streets on the south half open once we get that area complete, and then close the cross streets on the north half. And then finally, Walnut Street is closed today because the water company's putting a water line in, and Vectren has some gas work to do in that intersection. But once they're out of there, Walnut Street will probably remain open till maybe the last of the month. Walnut Street's a little problematic because it's a dead-end street and serves 4 or 5 houses. We do have ways for them to get in and out, but we'd like to keep that open as much as possible.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Lincoln Street? Is there much to report on the railroad bridge feasibility study?
We have negotiated a slightly revised scope of services with Strand Associate and selected them to do the work. The final fee, you had authorized up to $100,000. The final negotiated fee is $40,000.
Wow.
And we have had our kickoff meeting, and we are going to be investigating Wilder Street as a possible grade separation bridge that would connect Main Street directly to South Michigan. That's desirable. We are going to investigate extending Lincoln south to Michigan, South Michigan. That one probably has some geometric issues because we would probably be coming into South Michigan near the creek, which is quite low. And that grade difference to get over the railroad here and get down to the creek level over here might be very challenging. But nonetheless, we'll look at that. And then the final selected option is Ireland Street, extending Ireland over the railroad. And the idea there would be that we come in off of Main Street and get down by McKee Street. One of the things, because of the local tracks money, we need to be soliciting letters of support. So if people have ideas about who can support this, the schools, the hospital, emergency service providers, anybody and everybody, elected representatives, state reps, state senators, Congressman Messer, Senator Donnelly, Senator Young, we can get them to support us, that would be helpful. Local community businesses, industry, that sort of thing. And then the other thing that we need to do is see if we can find some financial resources from the local community, private money that would contribute, participate in something like this. That will help our score on the local tracks application. And then the final piece, we need to consider if we want to, the purpose of the state money is to get rid of at-grade railroad crossings. Two of the three that I listed there are not existing at-grade crossings, so putting a bridge in those two locations wouldn't eliminate any at-grade crossings. So we ought to be thinking about, are there other options, other opportunities to close some existing crossings, because it would help our score in applying for this money. So the big driving thing about any railroad money these days is getting rid of at-grade crossings because of the danger to both trains and motor crossings. So that's something we have to take a very hard look at.
When do you need the letters of support by?
We would need them ideally by the end of July.
July. So
Applications
1st
are
of July would be best.
Well, no, applications are due to the state by the end of August. Our target is to submit by the end of July. And the state, NDOT told us that if we submit early and they note deficiencies, they will give us an opportunity to correct those. If we submit at the last minute, then that's the submission.
So the scope of this application is just to fund the preliminary engineering to complete the feasibility, or is this the long term?
This is to build a bridge. There's $125 million that NDOT, the state, is putting out to all of the state of Indiana. And
So in turn, what Strand is doing is
the
going to be
feasibility study
the
that will-
description of what the actual project will be.
well, they will be determining, first off, can we physically
Do this.
do it in any of these
Right.
places? And if so, get an idea of the costs,
Which alternative?
the impacts on rights of way, on adjoining properties, impacts on utilities and those sorts of things.
And then they'll have a general cost estimate.
Yes, they will have a, what's the term we like to use, engineer's opinion of probable
Right.
construction cost. Yeah,
So that part of the,
That
of
will
what
all-
Strand's gonna be completing will be done by when?
we asked them to be done by the end of June.
The end of June.
And that
So,
might run a little later, but that gives us, our thinking was that gives us June to get our application together. We submit, I'm sorry, July to get our application together, submit the end of July, NDOT critiques.
so perhaps they could put together an executive summary, which would then in turn allow us to write more
It will.
pointed letters of support.
Perhaps, yeah.
Because, I mean, right now, to go to the school board and ask them for a letter of support, I don't know what I'm supporting at this point.
Bridge over the railroad's about what we can say right now.
Right, but I'd like a little bit more of why.
If we wait, we probably have a little more time, especially with the local letters of support.
Okay.
When we start reaching out to our
I mean,
elected
we can
representatives,
definitely
a little
say
more time.
how it would be of a benefit
Sure.
and assistance from an emergency service standpoint, the best, the routing, what all have you, which that's kind of common sense, but if there is some sort of executive summary that kind of gives us a little bit more detail, that'd be great.
I will see what we can come up with.
Yeah, I mean-
Even if we have to fine tune those in July, when we're getting
Yeah,
our application
right.
together, we'll have a little time there, so. And then the soliciting financial support from the local community, that's something we need to
That's
start,
gonna be
start discussing as soon as possible, because
When the train is going through, we should just go up and down all the cars somewhere.
And take, yeah, here, a bucket,
We would need to be fortunate enough to find the right executive from local industry sitting in line there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably gonna take a little bit more.
I know a certain executive that lives south of the railroad tracks.
I'm sorry?
So I know a certain executive south of the railroad tracks that gets caught.
I would like to see some relief.
I would be happy probably to write a letter.
I was thinking more about opening the pocketbook, but.
Yeah,
That is, NDOT shared with us, and I don't have it with me, but they shared the scoring system for this money. And let me say that $125 million statewide,
it's not a lot.
it's nothing. If you pick, just to grab a number of 10 million a project, that's 12 and a half projects, that's nothing. And you think about, let's pick on Lake County, where they've got major railroad lines, and you could probably sink $125 million in one project there. And they're gonna have a lot more train movements and a lot more vehicular movements on the crossings than we're likely to have. This is gonna be very competitive. But if we don't ask, we know the
Don't get
answer.
anything.
So,
Can we get a letter from Honda, do you think? Reach out and get something from Honda?
Well, I would assume that they could give us kind of an idea as to,
I would hope they would be
Impact.
interested in financial support, but
Yeah, that's what I was
I
gonna ask
doubt
question.
that they will, but,
Is there any data on the frequency of how often that track is used right now?
that's what I think we could get from them
one of the problems, one of the issues with Honda is they have more random, it's not like a scheduled train route by any means. You know,
And are,
Ship
they're,
where they
they're
ship.
the, are they the only train running that track?
I would guess
Yeah.
they are
Nice.
98%. I think Lowe's Pellets and Grain gets a little bit in and out in the fall or other times of the year, but I think Honda is, the line functionally does not go north of Honda.
Well, that would be Honda America
Sure.
instead of
Well,
Honda
it's-
Indiana.
Yeah, it's actually what Rail America or CSX
Yeah.
and Rail America.
Yeah,
The Central Indiana Railroad. Company.
Yeah, so Honda doesn't actually have a contract with it, they have with the third party, so.
But we could at least get counts to help.
There is some
support
data.
it.
Federal Railroad Administration, I believe I'm correct in saying this, they have a score for every at-grade crossing in the country, which is kind of a measure of safety, and that's something that will be a part of our application.
Maybe you
Safety,
could get the economic development director to help us speak on.
maybe Economic Development Corporation would like to contribute something.
That would be
Who
wonderful
knows?
too, absolutely.
So the actual construction, is see that they'll fund 100% of the engineering, and then the construction would be 80% request, basically.
The state says they will fund up to 80%, but
But-
you can get more points in your score if
If
you
you
agree
do
to
more.
fund. There was a scoring break at 21 to 25%, over
So
25%.
the more that
get
you're
more
willing
points.
to put in, the
Yeah.
more
The
points
better
that
your
they.
score can be.
Right.
And they do 100% of the engineering, they have
Yes.
in-house, they have their own people, so.
Well, actually, they will contract it, but they want to manage it because they want this to be a fast-moving project. They believe that if they
And
manage,
they wanna manage it, okay.
you noticed that too, didn't you? They believe that they manage it, they can get this thing done, chop.
Okay.
Remember, we started on $1 million project last August, I think it was, and we're under construction today.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
good for
could
them,
they
then.
outmanage us? I don't know.
I don't know, but we'll, okay, whatever.
So as you all have ideas about who we can get to write letters of support and what private segments of the community would be interested in participating financially, we'd sure appreciate any and all help we can get.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, update from Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Robbins, would you?
Ta-ta.
Thank you very much for having me. I know I've spoken to probably many individually, but I've been meaning to address you guys to talk a little bit about economic development. I took the job in December, and I look to working with both TIF districts, both the city and the county TIF, to really develop the area. And